London King's Cross, built in the 1850s as the foot of the Great Northern Railway. Today, 97 million people use the famed train station per year, taking passengers to places like Cambridge, Bradford and Hull. However, King's Cross's most used route is LNER's Flying Scotsman service to Edinburgh via the East Coast Mainline. Today we'll be diving into the history of the East Coast Railway and how it evolved. The East Coast Main Line is the 393-mile-long train line that connects London to Edinburgh via places like Peterborough, York, Doncaster, Newcastle and more. It's essentially an alternative to the A1, and it has many branches to other places. If we head back to the early 20th century, there were three large train companies who dominated the East. These were the Great Northern Railway, North British Railway and the North Eastern Railway. The Great Northern Railway in some ways still exists today, connecting King's Cross to Cambridge, Doncaster, York and the East Midlands. Secondly, we have the North British Railway, which served Carlisle, Berwick and a lot of Scotland. Lastly, there was the North Eastern Railway, which served York, Newcastle and Berwick and the surrounding areas. In 1923, the newly passed Railway Act of 1921 meant that the three railway operators would merge with loads of others into one larger company, which was given the title the London and North Eastern Railway, or LNER. LNER became one of the so-called Big Four of the time, the other three being Southern Railways, Great Western Railways and the London, Midland and Scottish Railways, or LMS. For a long time, LNER competed with LMS for their West Coast mainline services to Glasgow and Edinburgh. Sound familiar? Anyway, what LNER had that LMS didn't was the genius engineer and designer Nigel Gresley. This man designed the Mallard and the Flying Scotsman trains, the former of which reached the world speed record for any steam train. LNER as a private company lasted until 1948, when Britain's railways were nationalised by the government. This meant that all four train operators were now mashed into one, British Railways. LNER's long-distance routes were now operated by BR Intercity, which eventually became Intercity Railways. The existing steam locomotives stayed on their routes until the early 60s, when they began to be replaced by Class 55 Deltics and other locomotives. This continued until the Class 43 HST showed up to the party, bringing higher speed service to the country. Electrification of the ECML began in the early 80s, with the full line finally being complete in 1991. Now that the line was completely electrified, a fleet of Class 91 Electras were dispatched to the line, cutting journey times with better acceleration. In 1997, British Railways went back to privatisation. The East Coast Main Line went under the control of Great North Eastern Railway. GNER operated the lines in the same way until 2007, when they faced financial problems and lost the franchise to National Express, who branded it as National Express East Coast, until they lost the franchise in 2009. After this, it went to the government and just became East Coast, branded by fellow YouTuber now approaching as
really boring.
A few years later, the government set a bid for the franchise to First, Keolis, Virgin and Stagecoach. In 2014, Virgin ended up winning the bid and started Virgin Trains East Coast. Near the end of the VTEC franchise, Virgin ordered a fleet of 8300s to replace the HST sets, but before they could enter service, Virgin faced financial problems and had to return the franchise to the government in 2019. Deciding not to revisit the boring East Coast name, the government revisited the company name LNER, which remains to be the main East Coast mainline operator, until 2021, when First Group's open access operator Lumo took to the tracks and started operating between King's Cross and Edinburgh alongside LNER. Other parts of the East Coast mainline are operated by Hull Trains and Grand Central. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking and subscribing, because less than 5% of you are actually subscribed, and I post documentaries just like this one pretty frequently. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.